Hey folks, this is BestInSlot and welcome to our very first post-Secret Species Pack Mods of the Week Spotlight series for Jurassic World Evolution 2. Before we get started, a very quick disclaimer. As per usual, mods can cause problems with your game. Yeah, you know, save files, maps, stuff like that. If they do cause problems, it's not my fault, it's not the mod maker's fault, and it's not Frontier's fault. I wonder how many times I've said those words. However, it's worth noting that straight after a big update is really the best time there is to mess around with mods, because the game now isn't going to update, oh god, for like 3 to 4 months at least. So, you know, it's a really good time to mess around with some things, try some things out for the very first time, build yourself a few parks, etc, etc. Anyways, we have just four mods to check out today, but a lot of them are humongous. You may see the pyramid in the distance. We'll check that out at the end of the video. Until then, let's check out our new species, starting with a new Acrocanthosaurus variant by Master Doot. What an absolute... I had to make sure Isaac wasn't going to talk. What an absolute beauty. So this is Hammond's Acrocanthosaurus by Master Doot. And the name really gives the game away. The idea is to take the Acrocanthosaurus and remodel it to make it resemble something more akin to what you would see in the original Jurassic Park. It's a little bit more reptilian, a little bit more aggressive, a lot less chubby, but we've still got those Acrocanthosaurus features. We've got that flat sort of head top there. We've got the high-rised spine, as you would expect from an Acrocanthosaurus. It looks beautiful. It's really fantastic looking. It really, really is. I love this line that they're doing, you know, remodeling these dinosaurs to make them look Jurassic Park era appropriate. And this is one of my favourite of the bunch. What an absolute beauty she is. Anyways, talk a little bit about Acro. An early Cretaceous Carcharodontosaurid found across a wide stretch of the US, basically the entire continent. Apex predator, typically, would have often lacked competition for its food, competing with the likes of Deinonychus, who could well have served to be a little meal itself, if it was able to be caught at least. We've got like an incredible amount of information on Acrocanthosaurus, like really tons and tons of information, really good specimens. Things like the S-shaped brain, more like a crocodilian than a bird, to an acute sense of smell, obviously fantastic for hunting, to the presence of stiffened wrists. So the arms, they're not huge, as you would expect from like a large theropod. Or theropods in general, generally speaking. So it's got these stiff wrists, but it could pull these arms, as you can see, you know, it's a bit hench. It could pull these arms back with a lot of force. Possibly used to sort of claw at its prey, you know, it would hold them within its mouth, and then it would claw at them with the arms, or maybe even just to grip hold of its prey tightly to stop it wiggling away as it chowed down on it. So, the next thing we want to take a look at, you'll see there's 4 creatures here, not dinosaurs, 4 creatures of various types. Master Doot has also brought out a Triassic Pack, so we're looking at 4 different Triassic species here, and we're going to check them all out. Starting with... every time I say this dinosaur's name, it goes terribly wrong and people correct me. I think I used to call it Plateosaurus and everyone told me I was wrong. And then I called it Platosaurus, and I think it's Platio? Platio? I have no idea. This guy. We're going to talk more about that in a second. So our first Triassic creature is the broad lizard from late Triassic Europe. It is a basal sauropodomorph and discovered way back in 1834. So if you discount dinosaurs that have been labelled invalid since then, this is actually the 5th dinosaur to ever be named. Now, funnily enough, though, nobody's really sure where the name comes from, because the original description offers no explanation at all. There are often cited theories, you'll have heard it called the flat lizard. And there are often cited theories that it's meant to be flat lizard based on... I can't really explain all of it, it's a little bit of a mess, but basically someone figured it probably came from plate, I think, meaning rubber or... rudder? Not rubber. Rudder or paddle in Greek. And they attempted to rename the dinosaur as Plateosaurus, with an Y instead of an E as response to that. Platosaurus. Platis meaning flat in Greek. Other authors latched onto this for a while, and the flat lizard came to be, and that's why it's so commonly cited. but it doesn't really fit with the original description, and it's likely that it's a reference to platus, an Indo-European word meaning broad. So back to broad, it's a broad lizard because it's thick and it's got a wide gait. And of course, as a sauropodomorph, this would, later lead onto the sauropods we would know and love. You can see it developing there with that small, long head. We've got the long neck and the long tail, but we're still walking bipedally. You see those front limbs are getting thicker and longer with time and as we develop, and we'll have a very relevant dinosaur to look at for this a little bit later on in the video. But you can see how the sauropodomorphs would eventually have become sauropods. This is an interesting one by Master Doot. Not on the level of the Acro, I wouldn't say, but a really interesting dinosaur. The patterning on the wrists in particular, those big, thick claws, which again you would expect because eventually developing into proper, sturdy, walkable forelimbs, but lots of emphasis on those with this weird banding of colour going on there, which is pretty cool. And then this lovely sort of dappled pattern along the back and a fairly spooky head. Another cool looking Doot dinosaur. Dootosaur. Next up, of course, isn't a dinosaur at all, but a rather spectacularly modelled and rigged Lisovicia. Now, that's Polish. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, but I've got no idea. I'm going to stop us there for a second and take a look at it before they bound around. No chance I pronounced that correctly. This is a gigantic dicynodont synapsid from Poland, as I say. In fact, it is the largest non-mammalian synapsid that we know about, at 14 feet long and up to 8.5 feet tall. Not dissimilar in weight and mass to modern elephants. Lisovicia is unique in that its legs, as you can kind of see if we hop up here, the legs are underneath the body. Directly underneath the body. More similar in posture to modern mammals than it was to the other synapsids of the time. Not only that, but Lisovicia, only described a few years ago in 28, is important because it changed the way we think about dicynodont evolution and success, essentially. Previously, it was believed that sauropodomorphs, like the previous Platosaurus, is one of those three, were the only herbivorous animals developing large sizes by the end of the Triassic. And that by the end of the Triassic, the dicynodonts were actually fading out. They were petering out and going extinct. They were outcompeted by the sauropodomorphs, who were largely competing for the same food sources. Lisovicia, the presence of Lisovicia, this humongous, the largest dicynodont there ever was, at the end of the Triassic, suggests that isn't the case. It's interesting to think about. Did Lisovicia outcompete sauropodomorphs, or did it live in a region without them? We don't know quite yet. Anyways, this is a really cool model job by Master Doot. Really like this one. Bizarre skull shape, to say the least. We've got those big hooked tusks. It definitely looks very similar to... it looks like the Predator, basically, actually, with the tusks and the bizarre head shape, the way it sort of concaves in all over the place. Cute little tail, big bulging belly there, just how we like it. And a really interesting patterning, this dapple of colour there around the eyes, and of course smeared along the back there, and these big gigantic beak there at the front as well, perfect for tearing vegetation apart and stuff like that. Really interesting, really unique, rigged perfectly. Master Doot continues to absolutely bring it. This is a pretty cool looking creature. But we're not done yet, we've got 2 more Triassic critters to go. That first one bounding out looked so happy. So, clearly on the the Dimetrodon rig, I'll once again zoom in for a second while we talk, just because they seem to be scared of everything going on. So, this is Smiloseuchus, the chisel crocodile. Well, it's not actually a crocodile. It is a parasuchid from late Triassic North America. And parasuchids are a clade of phytosaurs, that's a PH, not an F, which evolved to be remarkably similar to modern crocodilians, a prime example of parallel evolution. So this was not dissimilar at all to a modern crocodilian, but this was, of course, way back when in the Triassic. had a strong bite and a large size, with estimates ranging from 23 feet all the way up to 39 feet. Means it would have been capable of taking down some significantly sized prey, such as Placerius, which is another dicynodont, similar to Lysovicia, but obviously a little bit smaller in that regard. And yeah, I mean, I love seeing these crocodile-esque archosaurs, I guess we'll go with for this one. But the parasuchids and the crocodilians that we do get, I just think, you know, it's the major thing we lack from the game in a lot of ways, and I can kind of see why we don't have that sort of amphibious nature in the game at all, but looks fantastic. Again, really, really cool, really interesting head shape. More than anything else I would say, this sort of long, thin, coming to a point kind of thing is quite dissimilar to a lot of the larger, say the Deinosuchus and stuff like that we've seen. Looks pretty fantastic, as you would expect from the Doot. There it is, sitting in the water, just waiting. Should be lifting its head up to breathe. Well, who needs to breathe for nerds? Yeah, really nice patterns, you know, typical crocodilian kind of stuff. We've got that banding. I keep saying crocodilian. Technically, I shouldn't be. Got that banding across the back, the banding across the tail as well, very similar to what you'd see on a modern crocodilian. And you can see how the shape of it and the formation of that tail is very, very modern crocodilian. Dude's done a really good job of bringing it to life. And sticking it on the Dimetrodon rig is just a lovely bonus. Right, one more creature from this pack still to go. And this slightly bizarre looking creature is Smok. Or Smoke? I think it's Smok. I'm going to call it Smok. It means dragon in Polish, or it's a reference to a specific Polish dragon from folklore. Actually, also from Lysovicia in southern Poland. It's an interesting one, this. It's still being determined exactly what Smok is, but it is a carnivorous archosaur of some description, and it was the largest of its kind at up to 20 feet in length. One of the reasons it's so hard to classify is because it shares features with dinosaurs and also with the crocodile line of archosaurs. You know, you've seen these crocodilian-esque archosaurs that are bipedal and move around like this, and you know, similar features of things like a groove on the ilium bone of the hip or a triangular antorpedal fenestra. These are more similar to dinosaurs. It's a bit much for the scope of this video. There's a humongous list of features it has in common with various different types of creature, but Smok is very much a hodgepodge of many derived features. It was only named in 2012 and doesn't have a lot of evidence. I believe there's only a single specimen at this point in time found in a cave. So, you know, given all that, there's a good chance that we find out a lot more about Smok going forward in time. In the University of Warsaw in Poland, they've got a reconstruction of Smok, and I believe it's rendered as a dinosaur. And I think that's what Doot has gone for here. Usually the dinosaur is going to be a little bit more raised up, the forelimbs are less elongated and less thick, and also the head is a little bit thinner, a little bit skinnier. I would say this is more of a dinosaur-esque interpretation, but you can see a little bit of that crocodile-esque archosaur in there as well, especially in the head shape and the kind of the very horizontal nature of the spine and the neck, etc. Again, it's a really interesting creature with a silly name. But it's a really interesting creature, and I think we've seen mods for Smok before, but I think this is probably my favourite of the bunch. Doot, again, has done a fantastic job. It feels otherworldly in some way. It's very bizarre. You know, it looks like a dinosaur, but doesn't quite look like a dinosaur. It's a little bit misshapen, a little bit bent out of place. It would make for a really good, like, cheesy B-movie horror film antagonist, I think. You know, it's very much got that kind of vibe to it, especially with those burning red eyes in there. Look, it's watching you. God, it's like the eye of Sauron on that, Jesus. But yeah, it looks fantastic. Love the very subtle patterning. There's a pubis, love a pubis, and yeah, really good fit for the Riojasaurus rig as well. Very chunky as well, very thick, intimidating creature. Is it me, or does everything look so much better in capture mode? Look at that, that's beautiful. All you need to do is stick things in capture mode and they look fantastic. Yeah, but anyways, fantastic pack here. You know, between this and a few other mods, you can make a really cool Triassic era park, which is kind of the dream. Now, before we go check out Egypt, we have one more dinosaur to check out. So, somehow rigged onto Archaeornithomimus, I believe, this is Riojasaurus by HawkAl1215. And it is another sauropodomorph. This time from late Triassic South America, a close relative of the earliest sauropods that would later follow. Rioja has, debatedly, some keen similarities as well with those later sauropods. Some people believe that Riojasaurus would have actually been an obligate quadrupedal mover, basically. It would have had an let me try this. It would have had an obligatorily, that's a horrible word, an obligatorily quadrupedal gait. Bloody Nora, there you go. Obligatorily quadrupedal gait, i.e. it would have moved around, and it would have had to move around on all fours. You know, Hockal's rendered it here moving around bipedally. And I will say this quadrupedal gait is up for debate, but some people suggest it would have had to move around on all fours. And there's a few reasons for that. Two primary reasons. This is because, first of all, not really rendered here, but the forelimbs and the hind limbs were equal in length, approximately equal in length. And the forelimbs as well are very robust compared to, you know, most bipedal animals. You've got weaker forelimbs and much more robust hind limbs, because that makes sense. Your hind limbs are carrying your body weight and moving you around. Riojasaurus had very robust forelimbs as well as hind limbs, suggesting again a quadrupedal gait. There are some things against it though, things like the morphology of the hands in particular. I don't know why my game loves doing this slow spin thing. The morphology of the hands does not suggest a quadrupedal gait, so it's very much still up for debate, and really, who bloody knows. But another really cool sauropodomorph in the game, which I feel like mod makers are in a sauropodomorph mood lately. We've seen quite a few of these pop up over the last few months, and I always really enjoy them. I think they're really interesting. Again, it's something we don't have in the base game. They really stand out. This one's got this really cool My Chemical sauropodomorph style. It's more like Kiss, I suppose. Aesthetic going on with the teardrop there under the eyes. A very classic sauropodomorph shape with that long tail, long neck. Even more akin to modern sauropod, which is, you know, as we know, Riojasaurus would have been getting there, you know, with this very vertical placement of the neck, similar to a lot of other sauropods. And really interesting pattern there with the striping and the spots as well along the body. And yeah, just really cool and really interesting to see it on the Archaeornithomimus rig as well. This thing also comes with like 25 different patterns, which is always awesome to see. And you know, you get tons of variety, as you can see, when you release a pack of these into your park. A little guy. Yeah, it looks fantastic. Shout out to Hawkal1215 for stopping the Master Duke monopoly. Before we go, we are going to go check out the pyramids. So, over here we have the brand new Egyptian Decorations pack by Viral Cyclops. And this adds, I believe, 7 new decorations to the game. The most prominent of those is, of course, the Great Pyramids. As you can see, the Great Pyramids of Giza. And this one here, you can actually see the individual blocks. I know Viral didn't model these. They bought them or got them from some 3D modeling site, but it's pretty cool. We've got this gigantic pyramid. Again, you can see those individual blocks making it up, and we've even got the golden sort of pyramid on the top with the eye symbol on there as well. There's also an entrance to it down here, as you can see, a little staggered entrance area over there. We've also got a couple of statues, these ones here as well, which I've plonked down, and then we've got a couple more. We've got like an Anubis statue over here. We've got Horus, maybe Horus over here on the right hand side. It is an owl. I think that's Horus on the right. We've got a sarcophagus, which is pretty cool. Let me get you a better view of that. We've got a sarcophagus, which is pretty cool and very blue. Hello. Come here often. And then we've got 2 Egyptian buildings as well, like Egyptian houses. So we've got this kind of just plain sort of squarish sort of one. We've got these boarded up windows as well, and a little doorway there. And then we've got this one with the little, I don't know, a little canopy sort of area sitting on top. So you can build yourself a little Egyptian town. Just download these like any other decorations. I'll show you my decoration tab, which is fairly bonkers now. Look at how tiny this is. Look at this. This is the decorations available if you do a little bit of modding. It's absolutely crazy, although half of them are Scary Faces statues. But if we go down to around, where are we? Around here. I see you got your Great Pyramid. Got your sarcophagus, you've got your Egyptian house number 2, you've got your Egyptian house number 1, you've got an Akhenaton statue, Akhenaton, You've got Horus, and you've got Anubis. And there you go, there's your 7 new Egyptian decorations. Build like an Egyptian, you can build like a really cool Spinosaurid habitat in particular, that might be really cool. Tell a little story, I don't know, just mix things up, do something different. It's slightly weird, and you know, with nothing else, I think the pyramid makes... Actually, I can see building on like a desert map and just have the pyramids in the distance. It might make for a really cool backdrop. That could be a lot of fun, actually. Yeah, just mixes things up. It's a little bit strange, which I really like, and yeah, big shout out to Viral Cyclops, because I love having this kind of thing in the game, and you know what? If nothing else, it's more decorations, which is always cool. And as I've said, we have tons of them now, tons of variety, tons of choice, tons of fantastic things. You really, the world is your oyster if you so choose it to be, and as I say, this is a really good time to make it your oyster, if you're in the mood for oysters. Weird. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Go give the mod makers all the love in the world over on the Nexus. I will, of course, link them all down below in the description via the Google document. You can download the Triassic Pack from Doot, the Hammond Acrocanthosaurus from Master Doot, the Riojasaurus from Hawkal125, or the Egyptian decorations from Viral Cyclops. Really glad to see modding back again. I always get a little sad towards the end, you know, just before a new update comes out and everyone stops, because people are understandably quite nervous. But yeah, it didn't take long at all for things to pop up, and I really like these pyramids. Even in the tree line, it kind of feels appropriate somehow. You know, it's like we're looking out from an oasis or something. I think it's pretty sweet. Look at that, isn't that awesome? That's really cool. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks very soon. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye.